Hey, what's going on, guys? So we'll be taking a look at this nylon Apple Watch band from a company called Balerion or Balerion. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce it, but it is from a company called Balerion. I guess it's like the kind of brand it's listed under on Amazon. However, that's not the seller, so there's always some discrepancies there. Not really sure what the brand is, but anyway, this is kind of a nylon watch band. So of course, it is kind of trying to replicate Apple's version of this. It is essentially a copy of Apple's nylon watch band in exchange for getting it about 50% off. This watch band is currently listed for $24 on Amazon. That makes it about 50% of the price of Apple's nylon watch band that looks very, very similar to this. This watch band does come in 7 different colors. This is the kind of black/gray version. They also have like orange and pink and blue and a few other colors, and they do have it in 38mm as well as 42. So this is for the 42mm Apple Watch. And yeah, like I said, they also have it for 38mm if you're wanting to do that. This is just the packaging that it comes in. I'm really not fond of this packaging. However, it's the packaging that a bunch of Apple Watch bands comes in for some reason. But it's just kind of like hard to open and annoying, and then you just kind of throw it away right away. But yeah, the watch band just kind of comes secure in there, and that's all that is in the packaging, so nothing super interesting there. And yeah, this is just the watch band itself. I personally think it's a pretty attractive watch band. I really like it a lot, actually. It's kind of annoyingly, like if you look, it's already kind of bent. It's really weird. It's like really, really formable, but not necessarily in a good way. Like the bend from it, as you can see, is just from like taking it off the watch band. So it comes really, really straight, and it's like a pretty stiff watch band, which is kind of interesting. I haven't actually used Apple's nylon watch band, so I'm not exactly sure how this stands up to Apple's version of this band. But yeah, this seems it's just a little weird and like stiff kind of, and it's like hard to get on the watch, and it's hard to take off of the watch. It's hard to take off of your wrist and things like that. So it's just kind of like stiff everywhere, which is a little weird. But however, like I said, I haven't used Apple's nylon band, so I can't really compare them. I feel like Apple's nylon band would just be a lot smoother, but you are paying twice the price for it. So to put this on the watch, of course, we will take the little shorter piece and put it on the top here, like this. And you're just gonna slide it in. And it goes in like that. Like I was saying, it's just not really smooth. It's not as smooth as I was expecting. Most kind of third-party watch bands get the size of the adapters just right. This one, like once it's inside of the watch, it's perfectly fine. But just kind of putting it in the watch is kind of a struggle. It's like you had to push a little harder than you would expect to, and it just doesn't really seem as smooth as you would like it to be, which is kind of annoying. And the same thing applies when you actually take it out of the watch. However, like I said, once it is actually in the watch, it's very, very secure. You don't have it moving around or anything like that, because it is kind of just a more snug fit than I want to say even Apple's would be. It's not necessarily a bad thing because you won't have any problems with the band like slipping off of the watch or anything, but it is kind of annoying when you're putting the band on the watch and taking it off and doing all of that. So this is of course what the watch band looks like when it is on the Apple Watch. As I mentioned earlier, I really enjoy the look of this band. We have a kind of black around the outsides and a sort of silvery gray in the middle, which kind of matches the reflection and things like that on the watch face. So overall, I think on this space gray Apple Watch, the black version of this band looks really, really good. It seems like the colors that these watch bands come in aren't the most practical. Even like Apple's versions of these, they come in weird colors like orange and light blue and just a bunch of weird random colors. However, I think this kind of black and gray looks very good, very professional, and it just looks really, really good in the space gray Apple Watch. I don't think this band would look nearly as good on the silver version of the watch, but with the space gray Apple Watch, I think it looks really, really good. Part of this is due to the black clasp we have here. It seems like most watch bands come with a kind of silver clasp, like this piece up here. Most of the time it's silver, which is annoying because it really doesn't go with the space gray Apple Watch very well. However, this one is of course space gray, so it does look a lot better with this style of watch. To put the watch on our wrist with this watch band, we will of course kind of place the watch on our wrist, and then we will bring this piece down and then attempt to put this piece through it, which is kind of difficult. Like I said, it's a lot harder to put on than most watch bands I've used, so we will go like this. Let's try that. And then we can just kind of pull it like this, and there we go. Yeah, again, just because of kind of how stiff it is, and I think as you use it more, it'll ease up, but right now, just kind of using it, it's fairly new, and I've had some problems with it just because it's kind of hard to get on and off your wrist and things like that. But so we will have it wrapped around our wrist like this, and then we'll just put the little prong through the hole there, like that. And then we can, of course, just put the rest of the band in this little loop here like this. And then we have the watch on our wrist. Kind of had this problem with a lot of watch bands, but as you can see here, you can see the end of the band kind of coming up. I think this is just because my wrists are fairly small, and it's not a big deal because you don't see it personally very often, but other people can kind of almost all the time see this little end of the band kind of coming up. And I personally think it'd be better if this watch band was a little bit shorter so that this is kind of lower down. However, I think that is a problem that won't apply for very many people, and it's kind of just me because I have pretty small wrists, and so the end of the watch band does come up pretty far. However, it would be more attractive if it was kind of lower down, maybe even like here or something like that. But that's again something that most people probably won't have a problem with, just because my wrists are a lot smaller than kind of a normal wrist size, I guess. And so you will most likely not have a problem with that, but if you do have smaller wrists, be wary of that, because I personally don't think it's very attractive like this. I still like the watch band overall, but that very particular piece kind of would be nicer if it wasn't there. With that being said, I still think this is a very attractive watch band. It's probably one of the most attractive watch bands I have. I managed to be kind of sporty as well as professional just because of the color of it. If you get one of the lighter blue or orange colors or something like that, it won't be nearly as professional. It'll be a lot more fun watch band, but this kind of black and gray version I personally think is very professional without being like solid metal or something like that. So it's still very light and flexible, and you could exercise in it, but it could also be very appropriate in the workplace, which is nice to see in a watch band. As for the comfort of it, I want to say this is probably one of the least comfortable watch bands I've used. I guess maybe some of the like third-party Milanese loop bands are uncomfortable because they like pinch your arm and things like that, but this one in particular is just kind of like rough and again stiff, and so it's really not very comfortable, unfortunately. However, it has gotten more comfortable as I've worn it. It is a kind of nylon material, so it kind of makes sense that you'd have to break in the watch band, but it is kind of still uncomfortable, and it just feels a little rougher on the wrist, and these pieces are a little rough, and it just doesn't kind of move around. Again, it's stiff, as I've said several times throughout the review, so it does kind of play in a factor in it being not very comfortable. It isn't terrible. I've worn it for the last 4 days now and I haven't had any problems and or like wanted to take it off or anything like that, but it is not nearly as comfortable as something like the Apple Watch Sport Band or even like a leather watch band. Overall, however, I think this is a very nice watch band, and it is a great alternative to Apple's Nylon band if you aren't wanting to spend the $50 that Apple charges for this. However, I think I would recommend Apple's over this just because the price difference isn't huge. With something like a steel watch band, there might be like a $450 price difference or something like that, but it's a $25 price difference between this one and the one that you know is going to be good from Apple. So if that $25 is a big deal to you, then I would go with this watch band. I haven't really had any big problems with it, but I do imagine that Apple's is a lot nicer, and so overall I would probably recommend Apple's over this. Unless, like I said, if you're on a budget and you really want a nylon watch band, then this definitely isn't a bad option, but I might be leaning more towards Apple's if you don't have a problem spending the extra $25. So yeah, anyway, if you'd like to purchase a product, of course, link up in the description as it always is, and if you enjoyed this video, then a like rating is always appreciated. If you dislike the video, that's perfectly fine as well, but please also leave a comment kind of telling me why you dislike the video so I can hopefully improve upon my videos in the future. This has been Jordan from Joe Reviews. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in my next review.